This video will change the way you think about mental health. As a social worker, I love that more and more people are talking about mental health. It's a severe issue, it's real, it's out there, and there are people suffering, people who need help and need strategies that are legitimate and can help them get unstuck. The problem though is that the dominant narrative that we have is really old. It's not updated by all the modern science that can tell us how to better understand mental health. You see, most people think that, well, if you're depressed, you're just depressed, and that's a thing, period. Maybe you need some psychopharmaceutical intervention in order to just kind of feel better, but the idea is that everybody's just supposed to feel okay, which is a lie. We're not all supposed to feel okay. Now, I'm not saying that depression doesn't exist or schizophrenia doesn't exist. What I'm saying is that these things do exist, but this new measure of health called psychological flexibility is an unquestionably better way of talking about mental health, because what psychological flexibility challenges us to do is to understand what we do in the presence of all of this nasty stuff. What if depression? What if anxiety? What if phobias? What if hearing voices wasn't the psychology of the abnormal? What if it was just the human experience? And what if telling people that they're broken, that there's something wrong with them and they need to be fixed, was actually really wrong and that we were damaging people? Psychological flexibility suggests that we all suffer, we all come in contact with difficult stuff. And even though your problems might look different than mine, I suffer with some family of origin stuff and feeling unlovable, and you might be suffering with some social phobias, you might be suffering with OCD. That these things, even though they're different topographically, what's important is functionally, what's under the hood, how we actually deal with these problems. Psychological flexibility helps us to understand that feeling pain is normal. That suffering is what we do when we don't want to feel pain and we try to escape, avoid, or control it. So imagine this stick. When it is inflexible, it breaks under pressure. Now, that inherently is not a good way to be when your pain shows up. If you don't want to think or feel something, how good are you at getting away from it? Like, don't think about a fuzzy little white animal here or think about its name when I say, Mary had a little. See, you couldn't do it. It just popped into your head. Otherwise, you're a thought suppressor, and that's a whole other bag of tricks. Breaking under pressure, that rigidity of psychological inflexibility, is inherently problematic. If you don't want to feel something, if you don't want to think something, you'll create all kinds of ways to adapt, to try and stay away from it. And does that get in the way of your life? This is where psychological flexibility comes in. We're not rigid like the branch, we're flexible like the vine, so that when we come in contact with pain, we don't need to escape, avoid, or control. We don't need to shut down, hide, get high, cut ourselves, or escape completely from our lives. Instead, what we can do is learn new ways to engage with that hurt. You see, there's this conditional way of thinking, like, I'll do this amazing thing with my life once I don't feel this anymore. And we're not simply saying that our work together is about, like, get off your butt and just do what's important to you. No way. Have your pain. Learn how to accept it. Make peace with it. And go forward with your life in a meaningful way. Engage with what's important to you. What we're saying is, learn how to make peace with your pain, to acknowledge it, to hold it. Because the adverse, trying to push it away and escape it, can get in the way of you living a rich and meaningful life. And what we mean by rich and meaningful is dependent on you, what you feel and what's important to you. Each of us has a who and what that is most important to us in our lives. And this perspective of psychological flexibility challenges you to connect with who and what is most important to you. And that might actually be really painful for you. For a lot of people who have spent a lot of time in a psychologically inflexible place trying to escape their pain, asking them to even think about who and what is most important to them, what they want their lives to be about, can feel so completely inaccessible that that might actually even be offensive to them in that moment. I get that. You are not alone. The idea here is that pain does not make you abnormal or weird. Your pain is a normal part of life. Your pain doesn't mean you're broken. It's a welcome experience. What can you do with it? How can you chase your values? That is what the heart of psychological flexibility is all about. No longer will we talk about mental health as if people are diseased or broken, that there's something wrong with them and that we need to chase symptoms in order to figure out how damaged they are. Instead, can you have your hurt and lean into it? Live a life that is rich and meaningful for you. I hope you found this video useful. Definitely hit the like button and share it because you never know who in your world might be suffering and could find psychological flexibility useful to them. Thanks so much.